This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. So delighted to have you joining me here in my online guitar academy. In this quick answer episode, we're going to talk a little bit about guitar maintenance. So just a couple tips that'll help you keeping your guitar healthy, help it have a long life and the best playing condition possible. So the first thing is, it's best to store the guitar in a case. Sometimes people have rooms set up where you can hang it on the wall and the room is humidified and it has a nice climate control, and that's okay. But the best climate control outside of a controlled environment like that is when it's in the case. So the elements like dry air, that can wreak havoc on a guitar. And the longer it sits out in the air, and even in the winter when heaters are blowing air around that's really dry, that can dry out the wood in the guitar, and that can cause problems with tuning and intonation and buzzing. It can also cause cracks in the wood, and so we want to avoid that. Even with air conditioners and air, just central air or any type of air system running, even if you're living in a humid state, it can dry out the guitar some to leave it out. Now, the other thing about putting it in a case is it helps it from getting dinged up by getting knocked over if it's sitting on a stand. So that's just a nice safety thing, keeping that guitar from getting banged up. But back to the humidity. It helps to have a humidifier, and you can buy humidifiers. There's companies that make humidifiers for the case and for the guitar. I actually use homemade ones most of the time. Inexpensive homemade ones. And so what I have here, this is the general humidifier. I have 5 of these in the case with this Martin guitar that I've made. So what I've done to make these, usually what I do is I just take the packaging from the set of strings. Sometimes strings come in a box or in a cardboardy type packaging, but when they come in a plastic packaging, which a lot of times they do, then I just take that packaging and I cut off the top, and then get inexpensive sponges, and with those inexpensive sponges I'll just trim it to size, moisten the sponge, get it wet, squeeze out the excess water so it's just damp, place it inside my packaging, and then set it inside the case. There's all sorts of places that it will fit in the case for this guitar. It just kind of depends on the case you're using and the guitar you're using, but this one has a cutaway, so I can put a couple here, and then I usually have a couple up under the headstock. Sometimes there's another space that I can put it. It is important to squeeze out the excess water because you don't want water dripping and getting any kind of water damage on the guitar. Water damage isn't good either. If you're in an extremely humid area, if you stick in a dry sponge, it can absorb water, but most of the time we're looking at using these in drier climates or places where there might be central air and stuff that can help dry out the guitar. We keep these in. I've had great luck. We want to avoid the guitar cracking because it's getting too dry, and we also want to avoid the shrinking wood that causes intonation problems and buzzing problems when we're trying to actually play the guitar. So these are easy to make. Other ways of making them, if you don't have any plastic packaging from the strings, sometimes I've used like a nicer Ziploc bag without actually locking or zipping or closing that plastic bag. The plastic holders for like name tags, sometimes I've purchased those, and they kind of make a similar thing as the packaging from the strings. Another thing that sometimes I've seen people do, I haven't done myself, is to get inexpensive like Tupperware type things, or save plastic containers that are small that come with some sort of food item, but that really aren't that expensive, and then get sponges, put them inside, and again poke holes through that plastic packaging, that container, and then keep moistened sponges inside of there until it dries out, and re-moisten them. That works off the same principle as all the ones you can buy, but humidifiers are a really great thing to have for the guitar. So I make my own. Most of my guitars I'm putting 3, 4, 5 of these in, especially for my acoustic guitars, but I'll sometimes have 1 or 2 in with the electric guitars too, just to keep especially that neck and fretboard from shrinking. Another thing that helps with the guitar is since we have oils, natural oils on our hands, it can help to polish or wipe off after playing every time. Just wipe off where all the hands have touched, behind the neck and anywhere we've touched. You can wipe off the strings too. You can get polishing cloths for guitars, really inexpensive, really easy to do. The one last tip I'll mention is it's a really good idea to change the strings regularly. I'll notice when I play enough that I notice when the strings are getting duller in sound that I'm ready to change them out. And I often change them before performance. If we push them too hard, they can break. Even sometimes newer strings will break. I've been in the recording studio before with a new set of strings on that have broken long before I ever expected it to. So that can happen anyway, but it usually doesn't. When I want to perform and be in the studio, I don't want to be bogged down by changing the strings or having a string break during that performance. But beyond that sound, the string companies sort of recommend not to leave a set of strings on a guitar for longer than 6 months, because as the guitar string loses its elasticity, it actually pulls harder on the instrument. Worst case scenario, I've seen bridges come unglued and pop off kind of thing, or even if the guitar was weak, it might actually break some of the soundboard. The bridge is easy enough for a luthier to glue that back on. But if you're not going to be playing for a long time, it can help to actually just slacken the strings a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, so that there's not quite as much tension pulling on the guitar. Otherwise, it is good to change those strings, and if you're playing regularly and your strings have been on more than 6 months, better get them changed. Now, we have a quick answer video on changing the strings for electric guitars, acoustic guitars, nylon string guitars. That's actually something that we can do ourselves, save quite a bit of money, and it's a nice little easy maintenance aspect of our guitar that we get to do ourselves if we want to. So you can check out videos on that if you'd like to, and take care. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.